Hello, everybody. It's Anastasha Grace here. And today's conversation is why some people seem to be super liking love and some people are not, and how to create this beautiful love in your life. So let me ask you, have you ever experienced this? Or maybe you have seen someone who has experienced signs like getting attached too quickly, moving on too quickly and jumping into a new relationship, staying in unhealthy, abusive, or unhappy relationship for way too long, or being a partner pleaser and not having any boundaries, not being able to communicate and impose those boundaries in relationship and getting unhappy and unhappier, or feeling insecure, needy, jealous, suffering from anxiety in the relationship for different reasons, like imagining the partner will leave you, or worrying too much when they are not responding, not texting, not getting back to you, imagining all kinds of ways, not trusting and thinking about partner's infidelity, or maybe repressing your anger and then having outbursts, being just too oversensitive in relationships, resenting your partner, being also hypersensitive to feedback or criticism and reacting defensively, or just being defensive all the time, sabotaging your relationship by looking for flaws in your partner. It's just like everything seems not to be right. Have you ever noticed that in your patterns, maybe when you start a relationship and you're completely enchanted, everything is wonderful, but then you just start sabotaging it by picking flaws and focusing not on the positives but focusing on the negatives, or being resistant to commitment, just avoiding commitment, being fearful of commitment, avoiding emotional intimacy, not going too deep, or not disclosing all of you, not showing all of you to your partner in a relationship, or just letting them in for a little bit. Just there's this much depth, and that's it. Like kind of keeping yourself to yourself. If you have noticed in yourself or someone else, the also like deep-seated but also hidden sense of unworthiness of love, it's like, oh, well, she can be loved or he can be loved, but I don't think this could happen to me, or self-doubt, or insecurity, or lack of self-worth. And, especially lack of self-worth, people don't actually admit it to themselves, but it shows up in words and actions. Being over-controlling, trying to control your partner, controlling the environment. Where do they go? What do they do? I want to know every hour. Or choosing unavailable partners, choosing distant partners. Also having this fear of being alone and making your children as emotional security blankets, or looking for some kind of emotional security blankets because it's just not capable of being by yourself. Also a sign of ending relationship too quickly before the partner does, like it becomes rocky, for example, and instead of working it out or understanding what's going on, just leaving before you don't be left, avoiding that. Or notice if time for you feels like torture. It's like if you're waiting, and it's not even related to love relationships, if you seem to be like waiting in different situations, you drop into that place of despair and seem to be going downward spiral. Those are patterns that are indicating the wound of abandonment. And it shows you that probably it's the time to go inwards, and it's probably time to heal the abandonment wound, because that's the wound that can prevent you from keeping that relationship and actually diving deep with your full trust and full surrender, and giving yourself a chance to connect deeply and intimately with another person. Or it just can be preventing you from finding a partner altogether, because if you know, is like whatever we put out, that's what we receive, right? So whatever you vibrate on, that's what you receive in return. So let me tell you a little bit more about two distinctions of the abandonment wound, such as abandoholism and abandophobism. They have a slight difference, but underneath it is still the same wound, the same pain. Abandoholism is a tendency to become attracted to unavailable partners. Abandoholism is similar to any other holism, so addiction. So anything that is holism or holism are addictions. But instead of the substance, you are addicted to emotional trauma or heartbreak, because it gives you this boost, this adrenaline, there's something that happens in your life and then you process it. So just drama. You pursue hard to get partners to keep the romantic intensity going on. It's like when too safe becomes too boring, or too nice becomes too unusual and worry, you don't even know how to deal with it when it's just too nice and too relaxed. It just needs to be drama. And this way you keep your body's love hormones going on the high, because you just don't know any other way, and drama to you means love, or this kind of activity, this kind of action means love to you. Or again, someone that you know, because these signs will allow you to identify a potential partner that could be having this wound, and not to get involved with them until they are ready, until they have healed the wound of abandonment. Because if they are abandoholics, they will be looking for drama and creating it out of nothing, or triggering it constantly, because they just don't know any other way, and they will be restless without it. And abandoholism is driven by both fear of abandonment and fear of engulfment. Fear of engulfment is when we think that something or someone just takes control over us, they just demand too much of our time, they just, like too much in our space, and we just want to run away, detach, put the space between us and them. It is, again, illusionary perception, because it means that you're not actually able to put your boundaries in place or know where your emotional boundaries are. So you can suffer from that, and it comes from the wound of abandonment. Abandoholics tend to swing back and forth between the fear of abandonment and fear of engulfment. It's like, don't leave me, but don't come too much close to me. Or you are just overwhelming me, leave me alone for a while, and then in the next minute they're like, where are you? I haven't heard from you for an hour. So this kind of swings, and that create drama and create this constant unsettledness you might have experienced it inside of you, in your behavior, or you have seen people behaving in this way. And abandonophobics are different. Abandonophobics are afraid of rejection so much so that they avoid relationships altogether. They kind of, you know, commit a little bit, or they connect a little bit, but then they retract. And when things get too intimate, too close, too much of a connection, they can just even disappear. So that's abandonophobic. Underneath, there is still a wound of abandonment. And you might ask, like, if this is happening, how did it happen? Why? You might be asking yourself, why do I have it? And the thing is, those wounds like abandonment, rejection, core wounds, abandonment, rejection, injustice, betrayal, humiliations, they are looked very, very early in life, when the analytical brain wasn't even formed yet, that cognitive side of the brain wasn't formed yet, or was in process of forming, and the child is operating based on survival, based on the reptilian brain, and basically collecting everything around them as a potential threat. So it could be, how can abandonment wound can be formed? Birth trauma, it was difficult birth, or separation at birth. For example, at the time when I was born, children were taken away from mothers for 5 days. And then my mom lost her milk as well when she was breastfeeding me. I do have a wound of abandonment that I have treated. Or C-section, babies that are incubators, because the babies sense that that vibration, that energy of the mother is not there anymore. I do regressions as part of my healing programs in hypnotherapy, and regression into womb and into the past lives, between lives. And when we go into womb, every person under hypnosis is able to describe the womb and mother, and read mother's emotions. So we do take it all in. And we do take some of the baggage that our parents have been going through when during the pregnancy or during the early ages. And when a child is separated from a mother, from parents, from the caregivers, they looked at it, that's looked in our nervous system, like an automatic nervous system. It's just registered. It just registers. Like, so imagine it's a computer, and your reptilian brain is a computer. It's constantly registering your environment, constantly like recognizing, am I okay? Am I well? Am I surviving? And then it registers, okay, the caregiver is gone. I might be actually be in danger, and that locks into the unconscious. Things like going first time in kindy, being dropped at a summer camp, being alone in the hospital, even for a few hours or a day, few days, that could be also locked in as a trauma of abandonment. I have discovered that when I started looking at what happened to me at the age of 4, and what happened is I was in the hospital alone for a month, and I vaguely remember it. I do not remember the trauma. I only discovered it when I started doing clearing on myself and really diving into my unconscious. But then I started actually interviewing my grandmother, my auntie, my parents. I said, tell me what happened, because I'm registering a huge trauma, but I didn't know about it. For them, it was a simple event. I got sick and I had to be in isolation hospital, but they did admit that I came out a different person and not as perky, not as bubbly, not as light as what I came in. But basically what happened is a trauma of abandonment locked in. So any kind of pretty much average life events, divorced parents, an absent parent, sick parent, boarding school, camps going away to grandmothers, and a child can look in, oh, my parents actually left me. Someone dying in the family, or just being suppressed emotionally, as you're not allowed to express your emotional, or emotionally distant parents, just cold parents. Childhood abuse, physical abuse, insult, verbal insult, sexual abuse, all of that will log in and register in unconscious as abandonment wound, and is playing and as in subconscious is, I am not lovable, I am abandoned, something is wrong with me, must be something wrong with me, I can't trust love. Is this love? If that is love, love is horrible, I better stay away from love. I can be fine by myself, I can do anything alone, leave me alone, I'm safer by myself, I am only lovable like when I'm ready to, I need to control everything in order to keep myself safe. So that all locks in really deeply. And that's what I work with clients, pulling that out basically when we diving that in, and I start testing into them using biofeedback and into their unconscious, discovering what is specifically the unconscious is saying and how it got locked in and which age. So ways to heal, definitely it can be healed and beautiful love can be created. I have seen multiple proof of that when a client was so much so had a terrible, absolutely really deep wound of abandonment, and so much so he had from sexual abuse in childhood, had a fear of just being alone at night, and not able to keep a relationship for 5 years, for more than like few dates or a month or so before we have met and started working together. And now for 2 years in a beautiful, absolutely magnificent relationship, super happy, so much healthier, stop drinking, and really start looking after health because the wound has been healed. So healing that, removing and breaking that core beliefs of being unlovable, unworthy, undeserving, that there is no safety, and changing those patterns around neediness, cleanliness, shifting, learning how to shift your perspective from negative to positive, and healing yourself, like forgiving people, forgiving what happened in the past, forgiving yourself, forgiving for yourself for being over needy, over clingy, over sensitive. So understanding the patterns, understanding the relationship, understanding your own emotional space, so developing your emotional intelligence, regulating your emotions, all of those will help you to create a completely different set of behavior. And the main thing is understanding all of this information, because you can clearly communicate what is going on to you, to your partner. It's so much easier to heal. And then also what I teach is different attachment styles, because they play a huge role in the relationship. So once you know your traumas, once you know your attachment styles, it's so much easier to create that safety for yourself where you become completely healed. So I am inviting you to my program, Fall in Love with Life, where I am helping you to shift and clear and heal and find those wounds of rejection, abandonment, betrayal, injustice, and humiliation, and come to the place where you are open to life, where you are open to love. You first fall in love with yourself, then you forgive what has happened, and you literally clear that. You just you know, you draw a point zero, that's it. I'm not going to be entertaining those wounds anymore, those pains, that past. That is not me, and creating from now into the future what is that you actually desire, what you actually deserve. I do work with couples, and I work with men and women in different aspects, but the main thing is always starts with clearing and healing that trauma. Being a practitioner, coaching can only start once you have healed and you created a point zero, and then you can start coaching person into developing something new and incredible and beautiful. Trying to coach a person on top of their current wounds, especially if they are activated or reactivated, they get reactivated, you know, you start dating and you get triggered every single day because all of those wounds come up, or you go through a life situation where it's uncertainty and those wounds come up that will affect your mental, emotional health, and also has a huge effect on the money and wealth situation. Imagine if you have low self-worth linked to those wounds, it would be much harder for you to create that wealth and abundance and financial stability that you desire if you have the wound of unworthiness and rejection in you. So I I use different modalities, but this program is about you diving in deep, and then there's a session with me where I use biofeedback, I use timeline therapy, counseling, trauma release, where we actually go in and heal that. And repatterning those beliefs around sexuality, self-worth, self-love, and coming back to your true self, to that true innocent, to the very beginning when you were absolutely joyful and, you know, free from all this baggage and all this conditioning and all this trust and issues and so on and so forth. So I do invite you to get in touch with me, have a chat, to check out my program, and I hope this was valuable. It's Anastasha Grace here. Thanks for being with me. Bye.